The Sonali border crossing in Uttar Pradesh acts as a massive funnel for traffic moving between India and Nepal. It is heavily monitored, yet historically porous, processing a constant, chaotic flow of international transit. On July 11th, security personnel stopped a 36-year-old man for a routine check. Instead of answering their questions, he suddenly bolted into the crowd. The ensuing chase was entirely uncoordinated. The suspect tried to lose himself in the surrounding area, and it ultimately took a group of local villagers intervening to help security forces physically run him down and detain him. Once in custody, the man identified himself as Jordan Brown, an American citizen from California. A search of his person revealed he was attempting to cross an international boundary with zero paperwork, no valid passport, no visa, and no travel documents of any kind. Illegal crossings at Sonali are typically processed as straightforward immigration offenses. However, as Brown began recounting his history to investigators, the case moved beyond the jurisdiction of local border police and into the hands of central intelligence agencies. Sitting in an interrogation room, Brown began detailing an international background that aggressively contradicted the profile of a stranded, documentless tourist. He claimed to be an experienced global operator, asserting that he had successfully traveled through nearly 70 different countries prior to arriving in Uttar Pradesh. Then he provided his alleged career history. Brown told Indian authorities that he was a highly trained, former elite U.S. military operative, specifically claiming service in both the Navy and Special Forces. He laid out a complex timeline to explain his lack of documents. He said he originally traveled from California to Thailand on a tourist visa, where he supposedly lost his U.S. passport. Without any identification, he claimed he then managed to travel by sea to Sri Lanka. From there, he said he slipped undetected into India in November, hiding out in the coastal state of Goa for months before making his way north to the Nepal border. Investigators were immediately faced with a contradiction. They were listening to a man claim he possessed the elite tactical training required to navigate clandestine sea routes across multiple international borders, who was ultimately captured because he couldn't outrun a group of unarmed local villagers on a dirt road. While interrogators documented his verbal claims, other officials began cataloging the physical evidence actually recovered from his pockets and bags. While Brown claimed to be a documentless American veteran, a search of his belongings turned up a valid passport issued by the government of China. The presence of a Chinese passport on an American citizen attempting to breach the Nepalese border triggered immediate alarms. The Uttar Pradesh police handed the interrogation over, and multiple central intelligence and national security agencies stepped in to take over the questioning. To verify his timeline, these agencies immediately subjected Brown's electronic devices to deep digital forensics. They are currently extracting location data, communication logs, and metadata to reconstruct his actual physical movements and map out his contact network. The intelligence agencies have a specific problem to solve. They have to prove definitively whether they are dealing with an erratic tourist spinning a protective fiction to avoid jail, or if they have intercepted a foreign intelligence asset operating under a chaotic cover story. To understand why Indian security forces reacted with such severity to Brown, you have to look at the immediate geopolitical environment. Border security forces in the region are operating under high alert regarding Western nationals. Only months prior to Brown's capture, the National Investigation Agency arrested another American citizen, Matthew Aaron Wanzik, under unusual circumstances. Wanzik, along with 6 Ukrainian nationals, had entered India using standard tourist visas. Authorities allege the group then traveled to the northeast and illegally crossed the border into Myanmar. They weren't tourists. The NIA alleges Wanzik and his team were actively training ethnic armed groups inside Myanmar in advanced combat tactics, specifically instructing them in drone warfare, drone operations, and signal jamming technology. Officials have established no connection between Matthew Wanzik and Jordan Brown. However, Wanzik's arrest proved to Indian intelligence that Western ex-military personnel conducting rogue transnational operations in South Asia is an active, verified reality. For now, Jordan Brown remains locked in judicial custody. He has been charged under the Immigration and Foreigners Act, giving investigators the time they need to verify his 70-country backstory. During his initial questioning, agencies reported finding no immediate links to anti-national groups. But the process of coordinating with international immigration records and foreign intelligence services to confirm his true identity has barely begun. The case now rests on reconciling Brown's digital history and military claims with the physical evidence found at the border. Investigators must determine if he is a panicked traveler weaving a tall tale, or if the Chinese passport represents a more calculated geopolitical objective.